advocacy team. The first thing I would like to let you know is that this event will be recorded and put on the internet for more people to benefit from it going forward. So if you would like not to appear, not to be recorded, please turn your camera off. You're free to also change your name to something that's not recognizable. So welcome to this webinar on how to organize a policy dialogue in the context of the European Day of Sustainable Communities that we organize every year at ECOLISE. And this year, especially, we are doing policy dialogues in a number of countries, 5 already, and we hope we can do more. And that's the objective of this call. So let me share my slides. First, the agenda, we've done the check-in. After that, my colleague Maria will present the European Day of Sustainable Communities, as that's the overall action where the policy dialogues are taking place this year. After that, Juan will present the Funding for Fairer Futures project, which is financing those policy dialogues this year. And after that, I will present some tips and tricks on how to organize policy dialogues and the EU context we are putting this in. And then we will have some discussion about the dialogues and how we can help you, how we can give you advice, and hopefully hear your ideas about the type of dialogue you would like to organize. So without further ado, I will hand over to Maria. Maria, would you like me to share the slides or would you like to do it?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you, Laurence.
So I share with them. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks. Okay, so hello, everybody. Some of you are familiar and some of you may not. So when we talk about the European Day of Sustainable Communities, by sustainable communities, we are talking about community-led initiatives. ECOLISE is the European Network for Community-Led Initiatives on Climate Change and Sustainability. So we thought it's a good idea to start talking about what community-led initiatives are. So community-led initiatives are initiatives of people that come together. Laurence, you are sharing your screen and I'm losing. No, we are seeing your desktop now.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Well, anyway, I was talking about community-led initiatives. It's when people, usually from the same local area, they come together and they work towards the same environmental or social goal. No, that's what we understand by community-led initiatives. Now, that is super broad. Usually in ECOLISE, we have 3 main pillars of community-led initiatives, and we talk about the transition movement, eco-villages, and permaculture projects. But actually, community initiatives are also energy communities, community shared, community supported agriculture, repair cafes, people coming together to fight against something that's happening in their local community. So there's plenty of them, very hard to map them all, but this is what they mean. I hope it's more clear now what we mean by sustainable communities. No, we are talking about community-led initiatives. Laurence, maybe you can go to the next one. Then, since the beginning of ECOLISE, ECOLISE is 10 years old, and this year we are celebrating the 9th anniversary of the European Day of Sustainable Communities. From now on, we may call it EDSC because it's faster. So the mission of the EDSC has always been to showcase and to celebrate community-led initiatives and their key role in the transition towards sustainable and inclusive societies. So, well, I also wrote here that these activities seek to increase citizen engagement in community-led initiatives, strengthen an active European network of sustainable communities, and secure institutional recognition and support for their crucial role in the ecological and social transition. This really, each year, the EDSC has changed, and at the beginning it had a focus on events, we then kind of like moved the campaign into a more of a social media campaign. It really depends as well on where the funding is coming, but always the mission and the purpose of it is to celebrate and showcase these community-led initiatives. So for this year, and maybe we can move to the next slide now, Laurence, thank you. We will be celebrating the EDSC on the week of September 22nd. Now, we are introducing EDSC today so that you have time enough and plenty of time to organize and think about if you would like to join the EDSC 2025. This year, it's the Funding for Futures project funding this initiative. Juan will talk about Funding for Futures in a moment. So what we will be doing is organizing a series of local, regional, or national policy dialogues together with the national hubs of the Funding for Futures project. So this way we will make sure that at least we will have 5 national dialogues taking place in Spain, France, Croatia, Finland, and Portugal. Hopefully, some of you will feel encouraged, and we will also be sharing this information after today's event on social media, on the newsletter, and so on. So hopefully more local and regional events, and maybe national, will take place as well. We hope that you get inspired after today's session. The idea is to have also a social media campaign in parallel, so having some sort of like the conversation going beyond the policy dialogues, also happening online, and illustrating the different topics that Laurence will talk about later, with stories of community-led initiatives that are making a difference and making an impact. So to learn more about the communications part of the campaign, we will have another online event on the 10th of September. So I ask you to save the date for the moment, and we will be communicating this in the following weeks, where we will expand more about what we'll be doing on social media, how can you engage with the social media campaign, with the communications campaign. And today we will focus on, if you plan to organize a policy dialogue or engage in any of the already happening policy dialogues, this is a space to learn more about how to do so. Now I'll hand it over to Juan.
Could you please pass to the next one? Thank you so much. Yeah. But first, the Regenerative Communities Fund. Thank you. Yeah. So I want to frame it in this way. To start by the Regenerative Communities Fund, because the Regenerative Communities Fund is a long-term strategic initiative launched by ECOLISE last year in 2024. Even if we were thinking about it much earlier. And the first phase of this long-term initiative is being currently piloted, implemented through the Funding for Futures project. To catalyze CLIs working on regeneration, climate action, just transition, community empowerment, well, everything that we are, all of us, doing.
Juan, I think you were frozen for about 5 seconds.
I see? Oh, sorry for that. So yeah, maybe I'm gonna not restart, but more or less. So the first phase of the the first phase of the Regenerative Communities Fund is currently being piloted through the Funding for Futures project, that I will tell you a little bit more in a second. The aim of the Regenerative Communities Fund, this strategic long-term initiative, is to catalyze citizen engagement and community-led initiatives working on regeneration, on climate justice, on community empowerment, basically what probably everyone here in this room is already doing or trying to do. And it aims to support local citizen engagement through funding, capacity building, and collaboration. We have, through the years, addressed that some of the main CLI barriers are the lack of funding or the lack of technical support, the lack of capacity. And right now we are thanks to the FFF project initiating all these projects. It also has a just transition approach and trying to support especially marginalized communities. So through the Regenerative Communities Fund, we are initiating a process to build an ecosystem of national hubs, demonstrators, and Pathfinder communities. And some of the hubs are already here in this call, and you will have the place to know a little bit more about them. Please, next slide. I hope you can hear me now. If not, please let me know.
Yes, we can hear you okay.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
So, got a question on the chat. What do you mean by the lack of technical support?
I may reply once I finish, okay? So the Funding for Futures project is a 4-year project that started last year, but basically its proper implementation is starting in 2025 because the first months, as you know, in a big project, they're always like getting ready and connect among the different partners. And it will last until 2028. It's part of the DEAR program, and it provides financial and capacity building support to civil society organizations and community groups, not only in Europe, also in certain countries in the global south. ECOLISE is leading one of the 5 funds of FFF, but there are several other funds, as you can see here. There are 5 thematic funds. The Regenerative Communities Fund, it's on CLIs, on regenerative CLIs, but there's a fund led by Can Europe on climate action engagement. Generation Climate Europe is leading a fund on youth climate change makers. There's another one about Feminist Climate Action Fund, Global Connections for Climate Justice, and then, of course, the Regenerative Communities Fund that I've mentioned. And through FFF and as part of the Regenerative Communities Fund, we are going to launch 3 more calls. We have launched the first one that it was at the beginning of the year. But we will launch a call in July, end of July, to select 15 demonstrators. Then 2 more calls to select 100 Pathfinder communities in total. By the end of this year, the first call, and the 4th next year. I can share more details later, but I'm gonna take more time. I will reply if it's good for you, Florent, on the chat. Like this, I continue there, and we can follow with the conversation. So I pass it to you, Laurence.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Juan. So now that you got the context, let's dive into today's topic. So first, in terms of the sequence of events, done taking the chat away from my screen, or trying to. Here we go. So today we are organizing this first public webinar on how to organize a policy dialogue. And then on September 10th, there would be the comms part of this action, the EDSC specific part. We are organizing these national dialogues or local dialogues around the week of 22nd September, depending on what you can do and what the policymaker you want to talk with can do. And then all of these dialogues, the outcome of these, we will carry to Brussels in a final event in November. The date is still to be confirmed. We should confirm it quite soon. It depends on the location, so we're working with that at the moment. And so we will, in an EU level policy dialogue, share your insights from the national policy dialogues in Brussels to EU policymakers. So that's how we are planning things. Now, what are the objectives we are looking at with these national policy dialogues? The overall objective is to raise awareness of community-led initiatives about the challenges they are facing, the needs they have, the impacts they have, the positive impact they have, and the solutions they bring for a just transition. The second objective we are seeking is to feed into EU-level debates. So building on these needs that you have, to bring these and insert them into the EU priorities that have been already decided with the new European Commission, the second European Commission led by President von der Leyen. So what we suggest you do is to select a topic of relevance to your context. And as you will see, I'm sure you can find one that would be relevant to your context. So those are the priorities we've identified that are coming at EU level and that are relevant for community-led initiatives. They are the general ones and the thematic sectoral ones. So in the general ones, future EU funding programs that are financing our initiatives or not enough, are being redesigned this year. So proposals are coming up this year to reshape the overall budget of the EU for 7 years and reshape the funding programs that might finance community-led initiatives. There's also a strategy about civil society. We don't know much about that at the moment, but it's coming up and it sounds relevant. So we are listening to what is going on and we'll let you know in due time. And then citizen assemblies and participatory democracy are also a priority of this mandate. There are some citizen assemblies being organized by the European Commission, and they would like to do more of that going forward. And obviously, that's something that we have some competence on and that we could partner with the European Commission on. So anything coming from the ground, coming from your state on this would be interesting. Then, on the sectoral priorities, there's a big vision on the future of agriculture and food that has been presented with a number of initiatives. And for those of you who follow our advocate work, you know we are developing policy recommendations on this coming up, actually, in about less than 2 weeks now. We will present them publicly. Then there's a water resilience strategy. Water, very important for agriculture and food as well. But it's not looking super good at the moment, so bringing your views up is something that would be important to do. That plan is not published yet. Then there's a plan coming up on energy, affordable energy, a climate adaptation plan, and plans on circular economy, bioeconomy, as well as affordable housing. And I know a number of you are interested in this topic. And that's something we're also looking at ECOLISE to deepen potentially in the future. So you see there are lots of relevant priorities. And if you could connect your policy dialogue to these priorities, it would be easier for us to bring up your messages at EU level, because that's what they are focusing on. So now let's dive into how to organize these policy dialogues. First, what format should you choose? It's very open. It really depends on what you feel comfortable about, what the policymaker you invite feel comfortable about. This is a fishbowl dialogue, for example, in the picture that we did with our Luxembourgish member a few months ago. And that's quite a useful way to do that, but you might not want actually to have it public. You might decide just to have a meeting with a policymaker, and that's fine. It really depends on what you feel comfortable with doing. It can be daunting to organize a discussion with the policymaker. We realize that. So it's really up to you what type of format you would like to take. But we're here to advise you in case you need advice on that. What type of policymaker should you invite? Again, it depends on your national context. Do you have some contacts in policymaking that you can use? And what do we mean by policymaker? To me, it's either somebody who's been elected, such as a politician, or a public servant, someone working in an administration that is also a policymaker. We suggest that it's preferably a national policymaker, but if you have contacts with a member of the European Parliament, for example, that's also something you obviously could integrate, or a local policymaker, depending on your context and what you want to do. And remember that it's not only about the titles, it's not only about the politician or the civil servant, but also about the staff or assistants, their aides. Those people have a lot of expertise to share. So that's also something to consider. Now, how do you find this policymaker or these policymakers, if actually you want to have more than one in your policy dialogue. First, check with your existing contacts, as I said, yours or the one of your network or of your activists. Check online on institutional websites. Those are gold mines for information at all levels of government. And if you don't have the contact details, clearly they're probably reachable online through social media. So that's also a way to get to connect with them. Then you've identified your policymaker. What do you do next? Well, usually it's about writing to them with an invite for your policy dialogue. In that, here are a few tips that we suggest you use, and we will share all of this information in a toolkit. So you don't need to take pictures of what I'm presenting now. Everything will be shared with you in toolkits. My colleagues might have already shared in the chat. So first, in that writing to the policymaker, in that invite, introduce your organization, first and foremost. Say who you are. Often we forget doing that, but not everybody knows us. So it's always good to remind who you are and why you are reaching out. Why you're reaching out is you want to organize a policy dialogue with this person, and why you need also to say why it's relevant, how it connects with their own priorities. It's easier if you connect with a policymaker that has the same interests as the one you want to discuss. And then explain what it will bring them. What does it bring to them that you get to organize this policy dialogue with them? Some of the benefits you can mention is that it connects with active citizens, with activists, with NGOs. Talking with people is something politicians usually want to do. You could suggest to have a tour of your initiative, for example. That's something that's usually very welcome for a policymaker that can feel a bit disconnected from the ground. So having them visit one of your initiatives is something that they're usually really willing to do. You can suggest that they get inspired by the actions you carry out. Also, that's part of a pan-European action happening around one day around Europe. So that's visibility. And finally, we will get their views carried up at EU level through ECOLISE. So all those are some arguments you can make to convince the policymaker to join that policy dialogue. What happens after that and what happens during that, we'll get back to that in the September webinar. But what happens after your dialogue? Then you make a summary of your dialogue and you send it to us. We will have an online form to do that. And this way we can gather up all summaries and share the main points in the November policy dialogue in Brussels. So by now what I've presented has been shared with you in the chat, I believe. Henri, can you confirm the toolkit has been shared?
Yes, it is.
Yes, great. So that's what we've just shared is what I've presented, but in a much nicer way. So you can use that and share it with your colleagues, with other activists, with other NGOs. This is, in a nutshell, the tips I've just presented. And are you in? Do you want to organize a policy dialogue? Then please let us know your plans so we can coordinate and include you in our pan-European action. This is the email address you can contact my team at, and we look forward to hearing from you. And that closes my long presentation. Now I would like to open the floor to questions. First, two questions. Are there some clarifying questions, things that you haven't heard or understood from what we presented? Has there been some questions in the chat? No? No questions, all super clear? Good, then I would like to open up to some comments. Some people have comments to share on that. So then I will open up to the hubs present. I know you are here. Some of you are here.
It seems that there are some. I think Chris wanted to say something. No, like to make a question.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead.
Appreciate the information. I think I was just curious, maybe this is too much in the details, but when it comes to organizing policy dialogues, in particular about choosing a particular topic of policy to bring into the dialogue, if you have any advice on how to synthesize quite complex and lengthy and intricate policies to ground them in people's real world lives, and particularly people who might be interfacing between an urban or a periphery environment that's sometimes a bit isolated from some of the more biological issues. So yeah, if you have any tips or tools of how to bridge the bigger policy considerations into the nitty-gritty of people's day-to-day lives.
Thank you, Chris. So does your question relate to how to make technical language, be it, you mentioned bioengineering, for example, or policy language understandable to people who, I mean, that's a big question. I do have lessons on that. Actually, we are soon publishing an advocacy toolkit from an advocacy training that was held a few months ago and led by ECOLISE. And in there are some tips about indeed plain writing. And I think plain writing is also plain talking. You're trying to not to use complex language. It's very hard to do, but I think politicians are usually pretty good at that, if you're worried about the policymaker. And I think it's also part of our role to try and translate that. The only tip I have is indeed to try and avoid too technical language, or to always think about the fact that people in the room might not have the context, might not know what you're talking about. As we become expert in something, we tend to forget that other people are not, and we tend to forget about all the things we had to learn. So that, yes, that would be taking a step back and potentially having somebody check with you whether what you're saying is understandable. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, sure, a little bit. Thank you.
If you write to us at that address I shared, we can share the toolkit with you. Excellent. The other toolkit, the advocacy toolkit, that's not online yet. I'm seeing a hand from Florent.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yes, Florent from French Hub. I was just wondering, a question I already asked, but we wonder this morning again regarding the output of this EDSC. Like, is there any template or any structure that will be also helpful for you how should we provide the output of the discussions?
Thank you, Florent. So I think a summary is good. We will share a Google form in due time to do that, so we can collide your input. I would imagine that each dialogue is a bit different, is pretty original in itself, so I wouldn't put too many specific categories. But if you focus on the objectives, the two objectives of how to showcase CLIs, raise awareness about CLIs needs, and on the other hand, how do we connect? How does your debate connect with one of the EU priorities, or two, or several, actually? That would be useful, but that's something we still need to work on. We don't have that Google form yet. Juan?
And in addition to what already Laurent said, Florent, it's important that specifically for the FFF project, we also harvest the type of participants that attend, the number of participants, the level of engagement, so a set of results. And as you know, we are working on a template for that information too. Also pictures, any type of material that can be then used for social media. I think all that it's very valuable too. And yeah, I think that complements more or less.
Yes, more is coming up from us. So now what I would like to ask the FFF hubs, could you please share some of your ideas for the policy dialogue? I know about your plans, we know as the ECOLISE team, but it would be nice if you could share your ideas in a nutshell to the people who are not part of this initiative yet and would like to join. Who would like to start? Please don't be shy. I know you are here. Florent, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, as I already spoke. And maybe Jean-Paul can add some information if I forgot, but right now we are still discussing a lot about it. On our side, we are trying to articulate this national dialogue policy with other campaigns. And one is regarding local elections that will happen middle of 2026. And from the experience we had in 2020 last elections, we had kind of a transition pact signed by people who were trying to be elected. Sorry for my English about this, because not used to talk about it in English. People who wanted to be elected signed a kind of pact, but then we struggled to how can I say, like when they were elected, go to see them and ask them where they were regarding this engagement they took. And so one of our focus is how we can build with citizens kind of policies, and what can ensure us that it will be implemented, and how the citizen can have a role and action in this kind of control of elected people. Sorry for the mess of this presentation. If Jean-Paul wants to add something.
No, I think it's relatively clear that we want to challenge the people who were candidate to once they are elected to do what they have said they will do. So, but what I wanted to add also is we have in this pact a list which is constantly updated from year to year, but about 32 actions that should be done for the transition, and it includes several topics that are included in the sectorial topics, and so that's it from this topic. So the synchronization, I don't remember, Florent, when this happens, because it's in the between, maybe in October it will be launched and so forth. So it's maybe the question also.
Yeah, still discussing about how to articulate it with the campaign.
But that's great. So I think the example of CTC in France very well shows how you are connecting an ongoing campaign you have about this transition pact with the upcoming elections in France and the EU priority of having more participatory democracy. So I think that works really well, and thank you. I look forward to that debate. Is there another hub present that could?
Yeah, I could go
ahead, Taya. Thank you.
We decided to take this into local context this year, and basically around the topic on how can the local level accelerate a just and sustainable transition, and the role of centers and hubs and communities in the transition. So basically, how can municipalities strengthen the impact of community-led initiatives in decision-making? What is the role of centers and hubs as local engines of change? And how should our activities be supported at the municipal level? And how do we ensure that transition to an ecologically sustainable society is also socially and economically fair. Also in smaller municipalities and regions. And how can cooperation in general between different actors, municipalities, communities, companies, and experts be strengthened in order the transition would be more effective? So those are the kind of topics we've been pondering upon about this.
Thank you, Teija. And for those present who don't know you yet, so Jalotus is the hub of FFF in Finland. So thank you, and it's very clear how you're focusing on the local level and how including citizen initiatives is beneficial for political innovation at large and making things fairer. So I think that fits really well into the general topic. And I know from our discussions in the past that there are some thematics as well that you are more involved than others. For example, the food is one that you are very involved personally in with ECOLISE as well. Thank you very much for that. Is there another hub present? Jorge?
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So in a previous meeting, we informed that we had already a meeting with the Spanish Office for Climate Change. So they saw a lot of interest on this community-led initiative actions and how they were thinking how to support them. So I think for this first event, that it's going to be we're focusing especially to make like a big event on the second year on the 26th, but for this one it can be like more an introductory conversation online with this Spanish Office for Climate Change and maybe some other policymakers regarding how this community action can contribute to the National Adaptation Plan. So they are building now a second work program for the National Climate Change Adaptation Plan. And so it can be interesting to explore how can these CLIs contribute to the National Adaptation Plan, and also how can both the ministry and other level administrations can support these CLIs, to strengthen their action, towards this common goal. So yeah, this could be. We have been discussing a little bit in the team. There's also Ruben from our team here, and yeah, we've been thinking more strategically in the midterm, like how to bring up to 2026 with a big event, bringing everyone together in a face-to-face event. But for this year, I think it could be nice to have this kind of more introductory session, and this exploration and how can we, build more synergies between the community and the public. Yeah.
Thank you, Jorge. I think the climate adaptation issue, as discussed, is really one of the issues we can have the most to bring at EU level as a movement, and also one where there's so little awareness at EU level of what is brought. I think on energy, the role of citizen initiatives, citizen-led initiatives has been recognized at EU level, but it's much more than that. So hopefully, as this is such a big priority for the EU, and that's something that would, and for Spain, that's something that would be very interesting indeed to look into. And yes, like take the format you're the most comfortable with, since this is the first time you're organizing this, and so there's not much time to do so. So that's totally fine. Jorge, you had your hand up again, I think?
Just a little bit. It's just to say that it's focused on climate, but at the end is climate as an umbrella of many other things. No, it relates also to circular economy, to biodiversity, to water management. So at the end is, the national adaptation plan covers like everything because there's interrelation with everything, no, even with housing, because it also brings a lot of social concerns. So it's kind of climate adaptation as an umbrella of many other things, no, many other crises interrelated. Yeah.
That's even better because at the moment at EU level, this priority hasn't made much progress in the debates, and it's doesn't look very broad. So the fact that in Spain it is really good news. Thank you. Any other hub? Yes, Zola.
Hi everybody, I hope you can hear me. So my name is Ivan Zokovic-Sola. I'm representing ZMAG, which is one of the hubs in Croatia. We are a permaculture center. So our team, actually we have 3 teams, but the further we got with energy, especially through energy communities and cooperatives. So in the next couple of days, we have a meeting with the manager of energy department in Croatian government, and I will tend to organize a meeting with the minister in the September. So let's say that this is going smoothly in energy sector. Then in agro-food sector, we are really active on the seed and ecological reproduction of seeds. So we will discuss with the Ministry of Agriculture around collecting seeds, allowing communities to select seeds which are, let's say, that they didn't go through official recognition of a certified seed, meaning that we have organized on a national level lots of seed banks where people can preserve seeds, multiply seeds in their own gardens, but it's really complicated to not to scale up, but let's say to officially and legally activate this on Croatian national level because of the laws on seeds. And another theme that we are covering is affordable housing. So just to say, luckily, Croatian elections were a month ago, so they settled down, and now we know who we can talk to regarding especially with affordable housing, because in Croatia the prices are getting higher and higher, and only the sky is the limit. Especially on the coast and in remote, let's say, touristic areas. So our idea is to organize a discussion with the local authorities and with the ministry about the schemes and models of, let's say, cooperative housing, affordable housing, led from the, let's say, from the local communities, not to have the scheme that is present in Croatia right now is that you have an investor is investing in property and then selling it on the market with a high market price. So that's what we will do.
So do you want to tackle all of these topics in one event, or will you select one?
Energy will be for sure, and these other 2 we are preparing, and if we succeed, we can do it. It's not a problem.
Great, thank you very much. All of those are very relevant at EU level. I would say the seeds one is, is within the big agri-food topic, but it's unfortunately not discussed much at EU level. That issue of peas and seeds that are not recognized in the official circuits. So that's one that actually I might get back to you on for our food positioning, as that's an issue I think it would be really worth bringing up because it's so important for us. Thank you very much. Is there another hub still who would like to present their thoughts? I don't know who's in the room, so please go ahead if there's a final hub who wants to talk. I'm not seeing hands.
We are missing the hub from Portugal. But I don't think they are here unless Jose is not here, but I don't know if someone else from Portugal from the hub is here. If not, I think that's it. However, Laurence, we also have people from other organizations that applied for the hub's call that they may be also, I don't know, open or willing to organize also a national policy dialogue. So I don't know, maybe we can hear from some of them if they want.
Yes, thank you for the reminder, Juan. So we've been working with the hubs so far on these national dialogues, and the point of this event is to see whether further organizations would be interested in joining the initiative and organizing their own dialogue. So I'm opening up for another round now of comments or questions. Any thoughts that you would like to share? Any question to the ECOLISE team? Please go ahead. Jean-Paul, go ahead.
Yes, I have maybe an obvious question. Sorry for that. It's just to be sure that the interviews or so should be during the week 22 of September. You can confirm.
Yes, so the EDSC is confirmed on the 22nd of September. It's a day, but for the national dialogues, we understand, we can't, we are going to lose out on possibilities if we only focus on that day. But the idea would be that it's close to that day. So Maria, if I'm saying something you don't agree with, you could go ahead. But the plan is that it's the week of that day, so the week of the 22nd.
So starting with Monday, ending with Sunday. Be clear?
Ideally, but I know one of the hubs.
Unless we have,
I think it was I think one of the hubs had a festival the weekend before, and and was thinking of organizing the dialogue as part of that, which makes sense. So I think we can adapt, of course, to the local realities and the plans you already have.
Yeah, I don't really know yet. I haven't talked to Juan about the exact dates the dialogues will happen, but I guess we will adjust from the communication side and make it public when it makes sense. No, we are communicating now that it will be on the week of the 22nd of September. If any adjustment is needed, we will do it.
It's always been like that. It's always been quite flexible, but around the date. So it depends also. And that's also why we're having these spaces, to co-create together with everyone. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Anyone else would like to share thoughts? No one? Jean-Paul again.
Sorry, I just don't want to ask for another question, but in fact, if I
go ahead.
Question, okay, I try to think about how this could be organized, and as it's new for us, so it could be interesting to sort of simulate how it's working. Maybe you have some experience about that, which we don't have really. So let's say we are in the week and we have an event with let's say a deputy, and we want to have an interview with him. So we can do as you were showing. Maybe you can talk more about the example of displaying in Portugal, And there are two topics. It's okay, the way it's organized, but I mean, okay, we have this person coming and some public or not public coming, and that's one point. And also the questions. So we want to target within some questions which are on the topics you have shown in the sectoral or not. And okay, and I have a beside question to that is we are interested in the general question about democracy and sort of how we could have more shared governance in the municipalities, for example, who decide always by themselves instead of asking in advance and doing co-creation. They are just asking at the end of a project if it's okay for us, and then if we want to change things, they say no, it's too late. Project is already defined, so we can just adjust one thing. Changes 3 will be here instead of there. So instead of that, we'd like to push them to do more co-creation and include the initiative at the beginning of the project. So this type of topic. So I don't know what type of question, how we can orient the dialogue in this case. If you have some experience, since it's the 9th years you are talking about that. So maybe also it's different if it's a EU level, or if it's local. I don't know if you already did some local level discussions for now, or if it's the first time. Maybe I ask a lot of questions. Sorry for that.
No, thank you for the questions. We have time, so it's a space for that, of course. I don't have the full history of the 10 years of ECOLISE, but as far as I'm concerned, since I joined last year, that's the first time we're organizing this. The EDSC has been organized for 9 years now. So there's a lot of experience about showcasing CLIs in online campaigns, which is what we will do and what the webinar in September will focus on, that specific social media action. Then for the policy dialogue aspect, that's the first time we do it, and also because this is the beginning of this FFF project with the hubs that gives us funding to organize this. So we will see how it goes, and we are co-creating Jean-Paul on this as well. We don't have all the answers for now. On the questions to ask, I think it depends on your context. I would say on both your context, what's going on this issue in your country, and what will happen at EU level. So depending on the priority you focus on, you might have seen that we've shared with the hubs, and for the other organizations who want to join, we'd be happy to share it too. We've shared some briefings on the EU priorities, on some of these EU priorities, so some to give you ideas about what will be in these priorities. Apart from the food one, which the plan has been already released, the other ones we don't really know yet. So they are, it's in the making, and they are at the consultation phase. Some will be presented by September. For example, the funding, the EU budget will be presented in July. So we will have more. And on top of the briefings we've shared with you, we will share any updates that's relevant to these topics. And we can then work together on the specific questions that would be relevant to ask, both in your national context and to feed into the EU dialogue.
Okay,
Yes.
and for the sectorial or general topics, like sectorial, like energy, whatever, and general, which is in fact democracy and these type of things. How can we talk also not only about the sectorial, but also on the general topic, which is democracy and things like that?
No, Jean-Paul, only one topic. I'm joking, of course. Of course, you can select more than one topic. So we've, suggested some topics. If you want to have the most relevance at EU level, we suggest that you choose one of these topics, and there are many you can choose from, and you can choose several For example, Chola mentioned a few topics that are relevant to their organization, and I think that's totally fine to look at different topics. If you can make it work in a dialogue. I don't know about the national context, but at EU level, we tend to focus on one theme at a time. But actually, you might want to have like a double debate, or maybe you have a policymaker who's involved in different topics, and that makes sense. So, I think you can find like the format that makes the most sense for you and the topics that makes the most sense. So please, if there are several issues that matter to you and you want to discuss, go ahead. I think it's great. And to us, it really helps then the advocate work at EU level. The more content we get from you and those dialogues, that really supports what we do. So that's very welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Juan?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, this is an experiment, isn't it? We are all learning. And what we are trying to do is, specifically with the national policy dialogues, is to decentralize also the ECOLISE policy work. And through the Regenerative Communities Fund, we will also have in our network, we will have demonstrators and pathfinder communities in the coming 2 years, that in principle, they will be also organizing policy dialogues, but more at a regional and local level. So the idea, and of course, every context is different, and there are many different topics. So we will try to support, and definitely Laurence and Maria are there leading on that. But there's going to be spaces to learn from each other, to make this type of questions, to already the hubs, because I saw someone was mentioning about the community of practice. Already we are initiating a community of practice with the 5 hubs, but we will be working with the rest of the grantees from the FFF project, from the Regenerative Communities project. And this is something that we are building for the next years. So we are doing this year with less time, as was mentioned also before. Also with the idea of start to build kind of the structures, the systems, the relationships to be stronger next year. So let's not be, at least this is my view, afraid of making mistakes. This is about learning and within our capacity to try to do something that is useful and meaningful for all of us. So yeah, I'd say a lot of bon courage, Jean-Paul, there in France. And I also think in terms of the evolution of the European Day of Sustainable Communities, that this year is the 9th. Next year it will be the 10th. So we also want to build up for that moment. And it was initiated, the EDSC was initiated as a celebration. It was initiated as a celebration of the power of CLIs and the work that CLIs are doing to make it more visible. So right now it's like if we are starting a new cycle with a little bit more complexity, because we had what we called in the past national contact points from our members, like key people that were supporting the EDSC in different countries. But it was something maybe less focused on policy. And right now we are using, combining those things. And then all of these will be connected to the Brussels policy event happening in November. Next year we will see if it's all together at the same time or not. But your voices, everything that we harvest from there, will be part of that event in Brussels. So yeah, just to complement a little bit all of that, and we can't do that without you. And I'm not talking only about the hubs. I'm talking about anyone from any country, because unfortunately we only had money to start with 5 hubs in 5 countries. But we want this to go much beyond. We're also fundraising to try to strengthen the Regenerative Communities Fund and fund more countries, but step by step, we are building all this system.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan, for the context and the additional points you made. So yes, we are co-creating So now the toolkit on how to organize a policy dialogue is up and running. As we are getting deeper into the organization, as you are getting deeper in the organization, please share with us any concern you might have or any question you might have, such as the ones you've shared so far. I've taken notes of the reporting form and thinking of common questions to ask for the dialogues, and I think we can start having a joint document where we work on that together, where we can initiate on the ECOLISE side some relevant questions to ask on the topics you've identified, and then we can build upon that together. Does that sound okay, Jean-Paul?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. So, unless there are any other remarks or questions at this stage? No burning question or remark. I suggest we slowly bring this event to an end. I would like to really thank you for your participation. It's really appreciated. And I feel like we are making progress every week on this, and we are building this together. And that's indeed very exciting for our work. Check out question. Like some colleagues, would you like to share final words? Anything I forgot to mention? I think I probably mentioned the webinar in September 5 times already. So.
Maybe two very good things. I also added in the chat, probably you have already seen it, something connected to what the Portuguese Hub is going to organize. There's the link of an event. They're working on rural regeneration, so their event it will be probably on that topic. I don't know exactly how they will frame it. And the second that I didn't mention when I did the short presentation is that through FFF, we are going to do a set of capacity building events. And this is the very, very first online webinar capacity building event of the whole project. So also this is kind of a way to break the ice with all of this. And I also want to say thank you to Luan and thank you to Laurence for leading with the facilitation. So yeah, and for the content.
Thank you, Juan. So on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for your presence, for your work, for all you bring to our movement, and see you very soon.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.